Hi, Simon Trezellian again for the Lockdown Chronicles 4. So what we're going to do, I was going to do a little bit more on mindset, but I realized that there are two different elements to mindset. There's the mindset of making the decision to survive, as we spoke about before. So that's the first thing that we'd actually do. But then there's a subsequent mindset of actually when you're in the situation. So deciding to do something is going to be different to when you're actually in it. You know, no one likes to think of, from a special forces point of view, everyone getting in a helicopter and going, "Oh God, hope we're not going to die." You know, the fact of the matter is that you place yourself in a situation where you're mentally resilient enough to be able to go into it. But then there comes a secondary part to the mindset of when you're actually there, what is the actual reality and the decisions you make then. So I'm going to do that at a later stage. So today I wanted to go through some of the more practical elements. And again, all of this is really from a special forces, covert ops mindset. I mean, you're actually in what is essentially a war. You know, you're at a war with an invisible enemy. You don't know where it's going to come. You don't know when it's going to come. All you can actually do is prepare yourself for the fact that it may come for you. Okay. So the first thing that anyone does from a special forces point of view when you actually go into a new territory is that you don't go out immediately foraging or hunting or going and doing the mission. You get shelter first off. It's the primary thing for any human being. If you are washed up on an island somewhere, first thing you want to try and do is to get somewhere safe, somewhere that is a shelter for you. Human beings have always done this, from the times of finding a cave or to building an igloo, whatever it may be. It doesn't matter what environment you find yourself in, you must get shelter. So shelter actually protects us from the elements. It also protects us from predators. It protects us from other humans. And in some ways it can protect us, if we sanitize effectively, from this unseen virus as well. So shelter is really, really important. Now, most people do have access to shelter. I mean, even homeless people have started to creating their own shelters as well. So it's important that we find somewhere that emotionally actually makes us feel safe, somewhere that we can call home, somewhere we can come back to, we can put our things, we can store things that are of value to us, and then we can start to build from there. It's like building a log cabin in the wilderness. You've got to have a point of reference that you can go back to, that you can defend if necessary, that is yours. So that's it's a psychological thing, and it's also a very practical thing. Now, in this particular situation, because we're not on a war footing, we're not looking at blackouts, we're not looking at loss of electricity, loss of gas supplies or anything like this. So it's likely that those things are going to continue. So you are going to be able to have warmth. You are going to be able to have coolness if you need it. In some places, the aircon is actually going to be the big issue. So that's a lesser of a problem. So let's have a look at the environment itself. You've got to be able to find something that is secure. So you've got to make sure that your family is secure within that shelter. And that means getting the locks, making sure it's a discipline, that you lock the doors, that you lock the windows, that you identify any weak points in your shelter. And this could be windows, it could be a garage door, it could be a number of things. So you do need to do almost like a bit of a security survey around the shelter first off, to make sure that if you were a predator, if you were a desperate person trying to come in to take your food, your toilet rolls, your ammunition or whatever, where would you do it? How would you get in? And then you defend against that, you protect it. Keeping the shutters down as well is actually going to be quite useful. I know it's nice to better look out. People can also look in as well. And if they see that you're vulnerable, then it could be an issue. So just make sure that everything, from a security point of view, is there. Make sure that the locks are good. If not, secure them. If not, create different solutions. You must make sure that it will give you time, and that's what security does. Security is, you're never going to have 100% security. If someone wants to get in, they will get in. The only issue with that and the only question mark is how long is it going to take them to get in? And that's another aspect that we'll talk about in regards to an exit plan. So you must look at your access in and your access out. Okay. So some people have remote garage doors, some people don't use the keys, they just use those to get in and out. You must look at that. That is a vulnerability, because it takes time for that door to close down. Other people can see that you're going in and going out. So you must be very, very aware of how you're accessing your shelter when you need to, if you need to go and buy groceries or need to do doctor's visits or whatever you need to do. But you also need to know how to get out if there is a problem as well. So you need an exit strategy. Your shelter should be defendable. Okay, so we don't know quite what's going to happen. So we must be prepared for any contingency. And that contingency also includes other people trying to do you harm or trying to steal that which you have. So try to make your house or your shelter as defendable as possible. And that needs to be layered. Okay, so you have your initial things, which are going to be your front and back doors, but then you've got to be able to, if necessary, retreat to a safer location, almost like a safe room. So make sure that if you have to do that, then you can actually defend it. It may be a bedroom where you have access with an ensuite to water. You must be prepared to actually, almost like a last stand, be able to defend that. So therefore, where you place your materials for defense needs to be something that you think about. Okay, so these are all contingencies. Hopefully none of them are ever going to happen. Everyone's going to get out of this in a few weeks' time. We'll find a cure and it will all be good. However, it's better to have this plan than not to have it, because if you need it, you're going to really wish that you'd spent some time on it. So that's with shelter. But you also need a plan to exit. Okay, so everyone needs an exit plan. What if, what if a fire or a flood sweeps through? How are you going to get out? How are you going to get out of that place with your family, with the things that you need, with the pets that you need? Are you going to drive out? Are you going to walk out? How are you actually going to do that? All of these things need to be understood. They need to be planned for. It's something that you can do in a lockdown. You've got plenty of time. Why not use it to be able to secure your family and secure yourself? It's a good use of your time, as opposed to just sleeping and eating. So these are things which will actually give you confidence. And it's confidence that will see you through this. The confidence spurs the mindset and say, yeah, I'm prepared. I'm ready to do what it takes for me and my family to survive. That gives you such a bolster in regards to your psychological mindset that it actually makes you not so much invincible, but it actually gives you a little bit more of the odds in your favor, as we spoke about in previous videos. You must do things that are constantly raising the odds in your favor. The next is water. Okay, so we're looking at almost like a hierarchy of needs. Human beings need water to survive. Without it, in a week's time, you're going to be gone. So a lot of people are buying up bottled water. I understand that, but bottled water obviously has a shelf life, and because of the degradation in the plastic of the bottles, at some point that will become poisonous. So you only need a minimal amount. You should probably be having like about a month's worth of water if you are going to buy bottled water. If you are lucky to be able to have a fridge which has a filtration system, no one's going to be cutting off the water anytime soon. Use that as opposed to the plastic bottles. But if you have the ability to clean your water, to filtrate it, then do, because a lot of disease comes through through waterborne diseases, things like typhus and diarrhea and all of that type of thing. Last thing you want is that on top of anything else. So, but if you can get to something like an REI or a camping store, buy Puritabs. They're very, very cheap. They come in literally bundles of hundreds. Just place a Puritab into any type of water. That's water you could actually find in the street or find in a tap, and filtrate it, because that is going to be, anything you put into your body is going to be potentially compromised, and that will happen once you get a breakdown in society and sanitation starts to break down. You must have some degree of being able to filtrate your water. That is an absolute. In Special Forces, your operation would be dependent on how much ammunition you could carry and how much water you could carry. You could always find food, you could always steal food, you could always hunt food. But water, you wanted to make sure that you carried that because it was your water. You don't want to be drinking from bad sources. So it's really, really important to do that. If you're going out anywhere, take a bottle of water with you. You don't want to be caught outside, especially as we come into summer now, without the ability to be able to hydrate. Okay, so your ability to hydrate is actually going to help your mental state. It's actually going to help you pass through a virus as well. So they always say drink lots of water when there are viruses around. So you've got to hydrate, and hydrate at the greatest quality of water that you can actually have. Food. Now, this is a big thing. I went through the supermarkets the other day and I'm amazed at what people are actually buying. And what they're not buying is quite important. So obviously we need high nutrition during this time, and a lot of people are just buying comfort food. Which is fine, it helps the mood, but it's not necessarily what you need to survive. One thing I really found strange was that everyone was leaving the veggies and the fruit alone, and they were just buying pasta and stuff like this. It's like, wow. So the one thing, of course, that is going to be freely available is going to be fruits and veggies for now. Okay, so you are going to get them on a daily basis. Make the use of that. Juice when at all possible. Make high vegetarian meals that will actually help the body be able to stave off any problems. I'm not a nutritionalist. I don't pretend to be so, but I do know what works. So one of the first things I went and bought is 2 big tubs of protein powder. It's got everything in it, all the nutrients that you can have. You can just mix it with water. It will keep you alive. Yes, you'll get bored of it. You'll get bored of it very quickly. It's like eating oats, but it's the stuff that will actually keep you survivable. So just think about that as well. Don't just think to your comfort, think to what is actually going to work. Canned goods that are going to last a long time. Stock up on stuff like that, especially stuff that doesn't necessarily need to be heated up. Things like rice puddings and canned fruit and stuff like this. It will actually help. So once you actually understand some of these elements, you're going to find that it gets so much easier. Again, protein snacks are something that you might want to get, but make sure that you have enough food to last you for what you perceive to be, and no one really knows because no one's actually come back and said, hey, it's going to last this long. Personally, I always have enough food and water to be able to last out for about 2 to 3 months. It's always in my garage. It's high protein. It's survivable food essentially. So I always have that as a discipline. People are now beginning to realize that this is what the preppers were saying all along. At some point, some things go bad. You need to be prepared for that. We used to have a saying in the military that called the 7 Ps, which was prior preparation and planning prevents piss poor performance. So you need to be able to have this. So those are the things at the moment. So we're looking at shelter, water and food. There's a few more things that I actually want to talk about, but I just want to make this this video a little bit shorter, and I'll carry on with that as we go on. So this is Simon Trezelyan. Please share this far and wide. I want to get this to as many people as possible, even if we were able to help 1 or 2 families to make better choices than they're currently making. That's going to place the odds in their favour. Then by all means, please share this. This is Simon Trezelyan, out to you.